more sustainable jobs for the youth.
If you particularly compared it to modules in previous administration and regimes, modules such as youth in bicycle repairs and so on and so forth, I think that this is a worthy innovation.
We'll bring you details and find out the impact of these modules in addressing the mounting unemployment situation in the country. Here on Topstory, brought to you by Gassam Cements, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready, and Bond Savings and Loans, your success, our passion. And tonight's government is set to roll out 4 new modules under the Youth Employment Agency. The new modules, according to the Deputy Information Minister Pius Ajide, is to provide more sustainable jobs for the learning or teeming unemployed youth in the country. The NPP, in the lead up to the 2016 elections, ran a campaign on the theme Agenda for Change, Jobs, Prosperity and Securing the Peace. Since it assumed, it has introduced some programs, including the much-touted Nation Builders Corps, NAPCO, to deal with the unemployment situation in the country. But today, at a news briefing in Accra, Deputy Information Minister Pius Ajide announced new modules under the YEA, and he says that it will be launched by next week by the Vice President in a bid to provide sustainable jobs. We'll get into it because my colleague Ernest Menu was at the briefing and joins us in studio with more on this. Ernest, what are these new modules?
First, MFA, we have the Job Center, and this is a platform that will link job seekers to employers. The second is Artisan Directory, and we are looking at, beauticians, masons, and all of that. This is going to provide some jobs for them with the use of ICT. Then there's the agric-based flagship programs. This will be district-based and also will be based on the resource available in the various districts or the areas where this module would work. And then the final one, which is the one that has caught the attention of most people, which is Work Abroad program. And this one seeks to export young professionals outside the country.
The agency has introduced 4 key initiatives to create sustainable employment. These are: 1, the Job Center. It is a platform to link job seekers to employers. 2, Artisan Directory, a center that will train and set up artisans, beauticians, masons, tilers, carpenters, fashion designers, etc., and make them accessible through the use of ICT. That's the Artisan Directory. 3, agric-based flagship programs. This is a development initiative or initiatives in various regions and districts, taking into cognizance the natural resource endowments and comparative advantages of those regions and districts. These may include maize farms, fish farms, smoke villages, cassava plantation, etc. 4, Work Abroad program to enable the export of young professionals into other countries, such as nurses, teachers, etc., etc.
So you have the Deputy Information Minister announcing that today, but Work Abroad module, like you said, has caught our attention and we'll dwell on it a bit more. But clarify for us, is this just for teachers and nurses? Because that's what I heard him say.
So that question was asked, and the Director of Communications for the YEA, Akwesi Efriye, answered. He says they're looking at other professions as well.
Yes, it is a deliberate YEA policy. It will be launched by His Excellency the Vice President.
The nurses and teachers are examples of what we are going to do. It's not limited to a particular kind of profession. What we are doing is to collaborate with our embassies across the world. So our diplomats across the world are doing a needs assessment and are furnishing us with requests or the needs of those countries. So, for example, you have Cote d'Ivoire, which has a lot of its people coming into Ghana to study English. And we have a lot of young graduates who have come out of school and are well versed in English. We are asking, can we not send them into Cote d'Ivoire to teach English and expatriate money?
There's a lot of questions, but Ernest, I'm sure you are not the best person to answer this, but we'll get on the phone line shortly and get more. But there were some concerns also about brain drain, for instance, at least when we were discussing it amongst ourselves. It's one of the issues that comes up. Did the minister respond to that?
So the Deputy Minister, Payo Sajida, said that the program takes that into consideration. It will be rolled out in a way that the human resource base of this country will not be affected.
Yes, it is a deliberate YEA policy. It will be launched by His Excellency the Vice President. The YEA is mandated by law to promulgate and formulate these policies. And by extension, yes, it is a policy of the government to do this. I'm also briefed that in doing the selection, our own peculiarities are also taken into cognizance. There are areas that we also need and desire workers, critical masses of workers in this country. And some of them we do not even have inadequate supply at the moment. In those areas, critical attention will be paid to so that the typical brain drain scenario does not come to haunt us in the long term. But I think that this concept from the YEA is innovative and creative. If you particularly compared it to modules in previous administration and regimes, modules such as youth in bicycle repairs and so on and so forth, I think that this is a worthy innovation.
So, well, just last month, Employment and Labour Relations Minister Ignatius Bafwewa gave an update on the unemployment figures in the country. He said that the unemployment rate has reduced from 11% in 2015 to 7.1% in 2019. Listen to him.
It is my pleasure to announce that during the period under review, a total of 611,397 jobs were created in the formal sector. Out of this figure, the ministries, departments, and agencies accounted for 343,458 jobs, whilst the formal private sector also created 267,939 jobs. In addition to these new jobs in the formal sector, the ever-famous Planting for Food and Jobs program is estimated to have created 1,593 jobs from 2017 to date. The figures from the respective institutions can be accessed from the ministry's website, www.melr.gov.gh. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to the good news about a falling unemployment rate from 11.9% in 2015 to 7.1% in 2019, you will all agree with me that there has been a relatively stable and peaceful industrial atmosphere.
Now, this figure has been disputed by some think tanks and labor economists who believe that jobs in the public sector or the presidency, for instance, may not necessarily be counted as new jobs created. But question tonight is, what will be the impact of these new modules under the YEA that's been announced today? How will it help in addressing the unemployment situation in the country? We'll interrogate that shortly. And the CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, Justin Kodia, joins us on the line. We are grateful for your time. We'll also be joined on the phone by Dr. George Domfe. He's a labor and development economist and a senior research fellow at the Center for Social Policy Studies, University of Ghana. So we'll start with you, Mr. Kodia, because we need a lot of answers and some more explanation. But to start with, please update me because I've lost count on the number of modules currently being run by the YEA.
Thank you, Emir, and good evening to your cherished listeners also. The rationale behind the new innovation by YEA is looking at our history, where we are now, and where, as an agency, we do want to go. It's a known fact, we have been running several models even since 2006, i.e. the community police, the community nursing, the sanitation model, the youth and fire service, and so many models that we have been running since 2006. The critical question has been with the exit strategy. Our models are temporary models for 2 years, and after the 2 years, the beneficiaries are supposed to be exited. And the challenge that we have had as an agency has been where those who are exiting the models, they are going to be. That is their final destination. And we have struggled in the past to provide permanent or sustainable jobs for the youth. So in thinking outside the box, by the policy guidance from our sector ministry and the board and the agency, and also taking a cue from Section 2 and Section 3 of the Youth Employment Agency Act. That is what influenced us in coming out with the 4 models, namely the Job Center, the Artisan Directorate, the Flagship Program, and the Work Abroad Program.
We'll talk about these 4 shortly, but you've talked about the exit strategy. So for the modules that you've been running, at least for the past 2 years, those who have exited, you've talked about that challenge. Have you been able to address that challenge?
Yes, these initiatives are part of the strategy to address those challenges. For instance, about 2 or 3 years ago, we had beneficiaries under the education model and the health model. For instance, the health model, we had about 16,000 beneficiaries. But in the year, the number of people that will be recruited in the health ministry or the health industry will be something less than 5,000 or 6,000. So the question is, what becomes of those who do not get opportunity? And likewise, other models that we have been running. So, though we have been able to get job placement for some of them, but I feel there's more that the agency can do, and that is why we have come up with these initiatives to, as much as possible, make sure that we provide the necessary platform and opportunities for the youth to get more decent and also sustainable jobs in going forward.
So I asked that because of the number of picketing and strikes that we've recorded. We still have issues with the Forestry Commission, especially the Forestry Commission, for instance, those in that sector. All these issues are pending, and you're saying that the introduction of these 4 new modules have answers to all the issues or challenges that you've had over the period.
To say it has answers to all of it will be maybe overhyping it or just trying to simplify everything. What we are doing is an attempt to reduce the youth unemployment in the country. Mm-hmm. We cannot use one day to solve all youth unemployment situation, but as a nation, as a government, we need to always look at other avenues that, as much as possible, can give opportunities for the youth of this country.
So now let's talk about these 4 new modules: the Job Center, Artisan Directory, Agric-based flagship programs, and then the Work Abroad module. Work Abroad module raises a lot of eyebrows. Let's start with that one. What is it about?
Yes, with the Work Abroad model, again, the policy directive from our sector ministry, YEA in collaboration with Labour Department, which has the overall mandate on labour issues in the country. What we are doing is that we are looking at the comparative advantage of Ghana in terms of human resource and see in other countries where those human resources are in need for us to partner with them to see how possible we can send some Ghanaians in the areas that the skills are needed. For instance, if we recall, when President His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo visited Barbados, there was a demand for nurses, and upon several discussions with the Foreign Affairs Ministry, we've been told that there are also demands in Mauritius, Equatorial Guinea, Canada, France, of certain skilled labor force in those countries. But here is the case where we have so many youth coming out from various tertiary institutions but unable to get full enrollment into the public sector or private sector. There's always a backlog. So it's about looking at other options whereby we can, as much as possible, export some of our skilled labor to other countries that are in high demand. Aside that, we are here, we hear stories of how inhumane situations certain Ghanaians have had to go through, particularly in the Middle East, where issues about concerning fundamental human rights and also abuses and those kind of things. This is because there has not been a proper government policy or strategy in addressing all these issues. I really believe as an agency, together with our sector ministry and Labour Department, that when all these processes are streamlined and regularized very well, any person that is going outside to seek a job under the YEA initiative, we know we have the database of the person, where the person is going to work, our missions outside are aware, and issues about even taxes, issues about their SNIT contributions, issues about tax waivers and those things. These are all matters that are discussed with the partner country to make sure that there is a proper procedure for people to go outside rather than going through illegal and also difficult ways in seeking greener pasture elsewhere. So that's the rationale behind it. As much as possible, export labor force to countries that are in need of it, and also to make sure that there's a system that regularizes people going outside to look for jobs.
Okay, so the system will be in place, but what's in it for the country?
Come again?
I'm asking what's in it for Ghana. You're sending our human resource to Barbados, Mauritius, Canada, amongst others.
Yes, first and foremost, as a country, we are trying to provide job opportunities for the youth. That is key. Again, them going outside means that they are going to earn foreign currencies, and definitely there will be remittances to our country. They will be paying their SNIT contribution, which will also help Ghana in also expanding our revenue base, and at the same time also trying to deal with unemployment situation in our country.
So how much is it going to cost us per person, for instance, because you have to facilitate that under the YEA, or they do that by themselves?
It's going to be an arrangement between government and the partnering institutions or the partnering state. Definitely sending people outside, it is going to be of even beneficial to our country, and I don't think it's going to cost much to this country, because the country that is requesting them are definitely going to pay for those who will be exported to those countries. But what the agency will do is to do the facilitation and provide the avenue for such people and requirements to be met. At
no cost to the YEA at all, you're saying?
Even if it comes at a cost, and at the end of the day you strike out the difference and you realize that it is more profitable or it's more advantageous to the agency, then I don't think there's nothing wrong with it as an agency, because it's our mandate. If you look at of the functions of the Youth Employment Agency, Section 3 speaks about it, and if I may even quote paragraph K of Section 3 even talks about establishing and maintaining relevant relationship with institutions and outside Ghana to provide job opportunities. So it's something that we are working within our mandate.
And so how many jobs do you hope to create under this particular module, for instance?
To be on the conservative side, we are looking at in the next 2 years to provide at least job opportunities of about 10,000 for Ghanaian youth through the Working Abroad project.
How many did you say again?
Around 10,000.
10,000.
Yes.
For Ghanaian youth. And within which period? Because we know that the existing modules is 2 years and maximum, and that's it. And then we've talked about the exit strategy. How different would this be?
It also depends on the kind of arrangement. In some institutions, for instance, when countries are in demand of, let's say, nurses and teachers, there is the mentality that those people are going to have maybe permanent residence over there. Mm-hmm. And there are some that are also going to involve in maybe skills training and also maybe in form of entrepreneurship training. So it will depend on the arrangement and what the package looks like. In some cases, it's about permanent residence, and in some cases, about duration. But at the end of the day, which either way that it may go, whether it's a permanent job or it's going to be a skills training, the person must come back home then knowing that the situation or his condition of life has also improved.
But then we'll come back to the same exit strategy challenges that you had with the previous one, because if it is not a permanent situation, they go there and come back, then what?
Then that's why I give two scenarios. The first one is the permanent stay, and the second one is the training. At the end of the day, as part of the job center model that we are doing, we have an inbuilt entrepreneurship program with which we are collaborating with NEIP. So definitely the person who is going for the training, you need to provide the person with the startup capital. So it's an avenue of trying to develop the human resource base of our youth.
Mr. Kodia, how do we know this is not another avenue to just take partyful soldiers or just reward partyful soldiers and take them outside Ghana to just go and work in the name of creating jobs?
So are you trying to state that when the country makes demand for nurses, those nurses who are going there are partyful soldiers? Or when they make a request for teachers, or when they make requests for architects or engineers? So definitely, why are you not going to sit in our office and decide we are sending party A or party B? The request is based on what the partner country or the recipient country is going to make. So it is based on their criteria. So definitely, if they are saying that they need this caliber of people, definitely your options are limited. You must satisfy the requirement, and at the end of the day, it must meet international standard also.
And so it brings us to the issue about selection and the fairness, because even the modules that you're running currently, there's always talk about it's not just your party though. There's always talk about the selection of just party for soldiers, just to reward them for the work they did during the campaign period. That's why this issue is coming up. So let's talk about selection. How would it be done?
And sometimes too, I have issues with about when we try to come up with programs which are of national base and we try to politicize it. Definitely, the person going outside must be a Ghanaian. To me, our position as an agency, which is a public institution, is that you must give everybody the opportunity and the privilege to serve Mother Ghana. That is our utmost priority as an agency. When it comes to IEA, you don't discriminate whether it's NDC, whether it's NPP. First and foremost, the person must be a Ghanaian. The person must qualify, and through our system, must give opportunity for everybody who qualifies to get through the process. That is what we are looking at. We are not interested in party or party B.
So I take that as complete your sentence.
So. Definitely so. At the end of the day, what you want to do is to bring smiles on the face of a young man or young woman who are staying in their various homes and hoping that one day they will get from a call from YEA that God has answered their prayers.
So I take it that that's an assurance that this is going to be a fair selection process.
Yes, and that is why every program that we are doing, we try to involve all political parties to make sure it takes the national character.
So when are we finally going to roll out these 4 new modules that we've talked about?
Yes, so on Wednesday, 2nd October, at the University of Ghana, we are having the program at 9 a.m. and it will be launched by His Excellency, the Vice President of the country. And we are equally inviting all Ghanaian public, the corporate society, the diplomatic corps to come and have a taste of what the YEA is introducing to Ghanaians.
Well, Mr. Kodia, we are grateful. That's Justin Kodia, CEO of the Youth Employment Agency. You may want to hold on, though. We are speaking to a labor and development economist and a senior research fellow at the Center for Social Policy Studies. Maybe there's a lot you can pick from him as well. Dr. George Donfe, we are grateful for your time here on Top Story. So you have the explanations to these new modules that are going to be introduced under the YEA. Your initial reaction?
Thank you, my sister, for having me this evening. And let me say good evening to your cherished listeners. Yeah, so I have listened to all the discussions. And before I even comment on that, I would like to talk about currently what is happening to the labor landscape of Ghana. And I want to mention that at the moment, we have as many as 300,000 people joining the labor force every year. That is the figure. Almost every year we have about 300,000 new entrants joining the labor force. And when we say the new entrants joining the labor force, these are the people who have acquired the required age of working. You know, an ILO puts it at 15 to 64 years, but in Ghana, we normally would say 18 to 60 years. And so those who have reached the ages over 18 and who have left school, they are not at the moment in school, and they are, as we used to say, they are economically active, then they join the labor force. Or if you were in school and you are above that age, maybe let's take, for example, you were doing your master's, and so you have completed your master's at the age of 28. Whilst you are doing your master's, you are economically inactive, so you are not part of the labor force. The moment you finish, you become available, and so you become economically active, for which reason you join the labor force. And so I'm putting all those people together, and I'm saying that every year we have about 300,000 joining the labor force. Out of this 300,000, as many as 85,000 of them are coming from the tertiary institutions. When I talk about the tertiary institutions, I'm referring to all the universities as well as the polytechnics and also the nursing training colleges and then the teacher training colleges. We are having 85,000 coming from this. My sister, it may interest you to know that out of this figure that I'm talking about, government has a capacity to engage only 5,000 of them. And so after the government has engaged 5,000 out of the 85 leaving the tertiary institution, all the rest will begin to look around for jobs. And at the moment, studies that we have done indicate that an average Ghanaian, when you leave the university, on average, it takes you 8 years to get a job. And so there is a serious problem when it comes to job creation.
And it's the reason why the YEA, amongst others, are looking at creating jobs is the issue about sustainability that's come up. And they've introduced 4 new modules in addition to the existing modules that we have. But the question for you is, how sustainable are these modules in your estimation?
Yeah, so that is my worry. So it's not just about, for example, the NAPCO and all those things have come. And if you look at those things, yes, they are just short-term measures to address the problem, but they cannot address the problem permanently. And the permanent solution is what I am looking for. And so, listening to Mr. Kobia, I gathered from him that, especially the one that they want to export, this is something I have always been talking about. Anywhere you go in the world, Ghanaians are very hardworking and they are doing very well, especially those in the health sector. The nurses and the medical doctors are doing so well. This year, University of Ghana, where I work, some applied with 7 A's and to do medicine, and they were denied the opportunity. They have the passion. They wanted to become medical doctors, and because we don't have the facilities, we couldn't engage all of them to come to the university to do medical science. And so if this opportunity is there, why not? I'm sure they have to liaise with the universities so that we train more nurses. We train more medical doctors, and then we export. This is what we call competitive advantage, or comparative advantage, if you like. If we have the comparative advantage of, doing very well, rendering very good health services, then let's look at that opportunity. We should move away from always depending on cocoa alone and gold alone. Development of an economy is an all-embracing, and so it is very innovative idea they are bringing on board. If it works, it will be very good. Let's train more people and let's get them to work to bring more money. Today, as we speak, one of the reasons why CD is even stronger is because of the remittances. Ghanaians who are working abroad, even though, excuse my language, most of them are not engaged in what we will call good job, but the little and the cleaning, job that they do out there, they get so much. And because of that, remittances that we receive yearly from those countries, has been happening. It has been happening. It's part of the reason why, our CD, the value is always shot up. And so now, if whatever that it is, Ghanaian will go abroad anyway. And so let's train them so that as they are going abroad, they are not going to engage themselves in cleaning, activities, but they are going to work out there with the middle class,
okay,
and bring more money to help the country and themselves. Okay. So if it works, my sister, I think it will be very good, and the prospects are very high.
Okay, so it's always about how it is implemented, though. We're grateful for your time. That's Dr. George Domfe. He's a labor and development economist and a senior research fellow at the Center for Social Policy Studies, University of Ghana. You also heard earlier Justin Kodia, CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, here on Top Story, brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready. Gasem Cement, the nation builder. News Night is coming up shortly, and it is emerging that people starting from age 4 will from next term be introduced to a comprehensive sexuality education program. Already, parents have mixed reactions. Stay for News Night.